welcome back to another episode of the Flair for Football podcast. As you can see, we've got a full house today.
Two special guests.
Yeah, very special guests. Man to my left, the gaffer.
Hey.
Kayl.
Man to my right, Mr. My Left Foot Sweeter Than Yours. But we've got some big players in here today, actually.
Big players.
So we've got Jojo, Joseph. What do you want me to call you today?
Jojo's cool.
I've known you for a long time. It's my buddy. It's my buddy. And then we've got Ben.
Ben, perfect. Keep it short and sweet.
Just Ben. But no, again, we're just going to kind of have a bit more of an insight into their football careers, their journey from childhood really up until now, and kind of what they've gone into. So yeah, really and truthfully, just to start off, just to get to know you guys, just to give us a brief background check on you. Start with you, Joe.
Cool. Obviously, my name is Jojo, and thanks for having me, guys, today. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So currently now I run my own football business. Coaching really. Work with kids between the ages of 5 to 13, predominantly. Work with older kids, but that's probably the age group I do now. Used to play pro football when I was younger, and obviously when I was growing up as well. But yeah, just out here trying to just kind of give a better insight of my experiences to kids and help them on their journey, you know. So that's me, really.
I like it.
Amazing.
Yeah, guys, Ben, likewise, thanks for having me here. A little bit like Jojo, to be honest. I'm trying to give off some of my experiences. I was probably a bit different to Jojo. My career finished due to mental reasons, really, the mental side of the game that I struggled with. So it's trying to give them experiences rather than just about football. I've got my own business now that uses football to tackle mental health and addictions throughout young ages. So from anything, again, from 5 all the way through, I work in the professional game and work with clubs tackling mental health and addiction. I also obviously work as a football agent now. So really it's trying to mentor them boys to keep a long-standing career, because as soon as you do face adversity, it can go in the click of a finger, really.
And I thought, again, we're going to get more into that. I think that's massive. Not a lot of people hear everyone's stories, and they're here. And then also it's nice to hear someone who's probably, you went through that not so long ago in that sense, and obviously to look how well you're doing now. So obviously it's
Yeah, as I say, it wasn't too long ago, to be fair, only probably 18 to 2 years. So very recent. I think that makes it a little bit more relatable, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
All on the couch can probably say the young guys can kind of look up to us a little bit because we're not too old.
Take something from it. Exactly. And I think at the same time, that there's so many stories you hear. It's just good to get another person's stories to add to the portfolio. So I think, well, just to get into it, let's kind of start with your grassroots experience. Let's kind of break it back down to the beginning, and then we'll touch a bit more on the mental health. So again, how did you start? Where did you start?
Started locally. Originally, obviously, from West London. So originally, I didn't really like football, honestly. My uncle kind of got us involved in just playing. I've got 3 other brothers, so there's 4 boys in total. And particularly me and my younger brother. Uncle just started to look, just come out to the park and play. Realised that we had some sort of ability, wouldn't say technical, definitely in the physical kind of department. And he said there was a local club called Sandgate. They come down, had a trial.
Rivals.
We just played. Yeah, literally. But I think in terms of our physical attributes, a lot of the coaches and players saw that and you kind of utilised it in the best way they could. So I played up front. Now I play somewhere else. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Big difference.
So I played up front, and they just used to hump the ball and they used to just run, literally, and score goals. Again, it wasn't technically great. And then obviously I went to other grassroots teams from there. The journey of grassroots has been kind of the point where I thought to myself, this is the start. You know, I got to a point where I think, okay, cool, I can actually play, I can play a bit. And I played in a tournament, those summer tournaments, we do 5v5 and 6v6, so they were great fun. Got scouted by Fulham. Okay. And that's when I kind of realised, oh wow, I'm actually quite good.
He's a player.
So, and then kind of just went from there, and then my kind of career excelled. But grassroots was important for me, 100%. It kind of put me in the light, put me in the spotlight, made me realise that, okay, cool, you know, I've got to do this, got to do that. The practice as well was important. So, yeah.
So what, like you said, you didn't really like football to begin with. What was your, like, other things to do, or why didn't you like it to begin with? Was it just
I don't think I was exposed to it. My
Okay.
family are not really a footballing family. And again, my mum and dad watched football, especially my dad at the time. But yeah, it was more education, more on our books, more studying. I liked working with computers actually at the time when I was a kid. Yeah, like IT and stuff like that, websites and stuff like that. And as I said, my uncle kind of saw that we were kind of home, weren't really that active. And we used to just go out and just go to the park and stuff like that. So
what kind of age did that change? Like, what ages did your uncle kind of take you
for
out?
me, we've obviously gone to the park before.
No,
but I know. But
Come on now. I know.
yeah,
I'm saying in terms
of course. Yeah, so
enjoy
we've
it.
gone, so when I would say about 9 or 10, which is quite late. Which is quite late in football now. So definitely about 10 years old when I first signed for my first grassroots team, maybe 11 actually, and then kind of kicked on from there.
So when you did do that, like you said, it's quite late for like 10, 11 years old. Was it hard for you to, like, obviously you said you got signed, but that first like season, let's say, was it hard for you to adapt, or was it just like, was it just fun for you to just be playing?
Yeah, you know what? Again, I didn't really know
thing?
much about it, so I think it was more down to the physical side. That was quite quick, quite strong, which kind of helped, and I kind of thought it was just like second nature. When the ball got put in the hind, run, finish type thing. So yeah, it was again, it was an enjoyable experience, and I just thought to myself, yeah, let me just keep playing. My mum and dad didn't put us any pressure on us. They didn't really want us to do. Didn't want us to play. Sorry. So it was like, okay, mum didn't want us to play, but we were quite good at it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that balance.
Fair enough.
Okay.
No, sounds good. And how about yourself, Ben?
Totally opposite again. Well, really, to Joe. I'm a footballing family massively. So my father, massive football fan. My brother, to be honest. So as soon as I reached probably 5, I think I was playing football. My brother, I was playing with my brother. He's only a couple of years older than me. So back garden kind of job all the time, kicking the ball around. And I think I joined my first side at 6, Kingfisher Colts, but they was the under 9s, which helped massively, I think, for my kind of...
You play 3 years up?
Yeah. Such a young age. So it's like helped my development, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
in a way. And then it got to a point, I think I joined like the best Sunday League side as Central Warwickshire, closer to Birmingham. I joined that sort of league and went and played for a good side in that division. But I wasn't really there long. But I was in and out of clubs, but I could never. So the grassroots, I wasn't really in much. I was probably a year to 2 years before I got picked up, and then I think I was at Villa at 7, but they never signed me. But they kept me there for like a year. And then I'd come out, and then I went to Birmingham and was there for like 9 months. But I could never get signed. But then I got signed at 12 to Cheltenham Town, which is League 2 now. I think they're in the playoffs or second at 12, which was a proper bizarre one. My friend's dad was a taxi driver, like a private taxi, and he was for Ron Atkinson, the old Villa manager. He lives in Barnt Green, a place not far, it's literally where I live in Birmingham. And he was taxi driving for him, and he managed to get me and the son a trial at Cheltenham. I didn't really know who Cheltenham was, to be honest. My dad was like, going to Cheltenham. I was like, huh? I was only like 12, do you know what I mean? I was like, who are Cheltenham? So I went there and signed. So grassroots, really, I didn't really have much exposure to, which people have different opinions, don't they? I guess. I think some people are. I kind of think now I'd probably want, if it was my child, probably want them to stay in grassroots a bit longer. So probably early teen, at about 14, 15 years. I think there is a point where you do need to get into the professional game. If not, you're not going to learn. You need to be taught by, I'm not saying that we aren't professional coaches, but you need to be in that environment. I think it does kind of,
coach and stuff.
and just learning what that environment's about. I think if you go in there at 16 as a young lad, you can kind of get swallowed up in it because you're not used to that. So I do think that getting in about 14, 15 would be the right age. Still enjoy your childhood with your friends, and the confidence. You know, we all played that. We're probably the best side, but one of the better players in our team. You know, my confidence was high all the time because I was a good player. But then when you go into a club, when we went to Stoke and they're bringing foreign, this was later on in the career, but they're bringing foreign lads in that are very good and have been at a level. I'm looking around thinking my confidence getting shot. I'm only 16. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you can go in there a little bit later and kind of arrive on the scene and be like, but I also think there's something to be said about going through the non-leagues. Like, I think it's happening more and more. So any route's the right route, but I just think if you do it a little bit too early, it can kind of ruin people.
Yeah, it can be tough. It all depends on, again, if you get signed at the youngest age, under 9s, and then you're kind of in the game, in the system at the same club until maybe under 16s and get released.
Yeah, kills you.
It's your whole life. For you, you've grown up, all you've known is your club, and then before you know it, it's over. So yeah, and I think obviously again, that's all we kind of touch on the mental aspect. But I think even just like the last thing for me personally with grassroots football, I really enjoyed it. But you know, now sometimes we coach loads of children. We'll see some children are in it because they want to be signed. Some are in it because they just really enjoy it. And I think it's a balance. Like me personally, I'd say, were you in? Again, you didn't play grassroots football for long, but were you kind of playing saying, I'm just playing because I want to find a club and get signed, or were you playing literally my friends play for this team? It's a good laugh on a Sunday. We're going to train hard on Saturdays, etc. But still, so you kind of find that balance. Did you just play for simply enjoyment, or was it you want to push on and find that next level?
Yeah, for me at the time, as I said, because I wasn't really interested, I just thought, this is my mates. You know what I'm saying?
Did it feel like a chore, like turning up when you say you weren't interested? Did you feel like, again, I know you said
know what, it became enjoyable. Like, you know, anytime I'd go to training and stuff like that, I had a couple mates that played for the same grassroots team, so we would talk about it in school and stuff like that. It was nice to kind of have that kind of relationship off the field and on the field. So it was fine. It was I enjoyed it. I wanted to go there because I liked it. I started to like it a lot more, started to have a lot more success in playing, started to get heard around the club, especially at Sandgate. I played a year up. So did my brother as well, and he's 2 years younger than me. So he played in the same age group as me, and then I played a year up as well. Okay. So it started, like, the process started really quickly, or started to change really quickly. So I was never forced to go. Always enjoyed it.
Okay,
so went from there really. What you got?
Yeah, I think the early days, football was my life. Like, I loved it. Kick it, literally lived and breathed it. Literally, I think when it started to become more of a business, I think that's when my love for the game 100% started to go, and that's truthful. I think when it was for the enjoyment and the enjoyment of the game, that's when I enjoyed it. I think when you started seeing that change, when you get to about 16, and that starts changing, you have to be ready mentally. You have to turn to a man very quickly. You know, we used to live in digs up in Stoke, and I remember the food was like not great at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you have to adapt. And if you don't adapt,
you're
swallowed.
It's like you said, it's at a young age as well. And for you to make that change, to adapt that quick, especially like you said, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Trying to turn into young men at that age it's difficult, especially like you said, you was in digs. So you had each other around you. You didn't really have family close by where you could turn to and think, oh, like if something was going wrong or you wasn't feeling the best kind of thing.
And it's like you've just said, everyone, it's perception, isn't it? Everyone sees it. Oh, you're playing for Stoke. Like, you must be loving life. Like,
no,
it's not.
It's deeper than that, isn't it?
You're correct. It's not just about what people see on the outside. You know what I mean? It's like I've said, that's why I go back to, thinking more into it. It's like unless you've been in that position, like my brother used to say to me, I used to call up and I go, I'm not enjoying it that night. He's like, shut, like, are you crazy? Like,
you're crazy,
you're playing for it was Europe. Like, Stoke was European club at the time. Like, are you crazy? Like, and all this. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not doing what I'm doing. You're not there. You're not feeling like how I'm feeling. So yeah, on the outset, playing football for Stoke, and it looked amazing, and it was. But I think when you start getting to the business side of the game, I think that's when things change.
Yeah.
I guess if you're at a club that's local to home and you're a bit more with your family still, there's that support network. But when you're moving away and moving a distance,
and a lot of independence,
a lot of independence for a 16-year-old,
and there's no like blueprint In that sense, no one just kind of says, okay, look, you read this book or talk to this person.
Got to work out yourself.
You got to work out.
I think it's like that similar. Because everyone does have different experiences. As much as you can kind of take as much information from that as possible, it's almost like, well, what's my experience? Where do I go? Because again, you've heard stories of people doing this and it's worked really well. People have done the same thing, but it hasn't worked so well. And so it's kind of find, again, it's finding your own sort of.
I agree. I have to say, like, I'd only now say this start of my life now where I feel like I'm slowly starting to mature. I know that sounds stupid, but like even at 19, 20, you're still going through different things in life where you're starting to take on different responsibilities financially. You're starting to be exposed to more money. What do you do with that? You're exposed to, a different, different surroundings, etc. So I think until you become an adult, which I personally don't think you become one. Like I'm still learning things now. I'm still making mistakes. So I think, how do you expect a young lad to go in there? People are going to mature quicker. We had lads coming in from overseas that were a lot more mature because they were used to living away from the family because they were flying from overseas to play football. And it was different for them. They were probably getting paid a bit more from the club as well. Like we all know that happens. And so everything for them was different. But you can't compare yourself to them people because you're not in their position. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, agree.
So
That's true.
I even say that touching on your kind of Stoke City, obviously, that's where you guys met playing Stoke together. Kind of, even for example, did you sign at the same season? Were one of you there longer than the other?
I was there a lot before Joe, I think. Okay. So
yeah, he's younger than me. So I was there from 2011 to 2000 and maybe 13, 14.
Okay.
I signed so I was at Wycombe Wanderers actually. Yeah, obviously they're in the Championship now. They were in League 2 at the time. I signed there. They offered me a scholar. I just didn't want to be there really. I just didn't enjoy it at all. Originally I was released from Chelsea and then went straight to Wycombe. So, and then, I was promised that I'd go into the first team and all that stuff. And I just didn't enjoy it. So I denied my scholarship there and went to Stoke. Went on trial initially and ended up signing a scholar there. I was there for 2 years.
How was that, the initial kind of like settling in period? Like when your first session, how did you feel? Were you nervous? I think even things like that, just how to touch on it. How did you, again, at the time you were how old, 16?
Even to be fair, I think I got offered at 15.
So you were 15?
15 going 16.
So obviously you've gone down to Stoke. Again,
a couple of times, yeah.
Kind of, how was that first sort of session? How did you feel?
I'll go back to like when I had my first game for them. I was 15, so they told me they wanted me to be. So I trained with them initially, and then I played against Bolton. Okay. So I remember it was crazy. But as a family, we all came down. It was a 5-hour drive, maybe 5.5 hours, and it was a youth team game. So obviously I'm 15, obviously I'm under 16, but they want me to play under 18s. I didn't know until I got there, and that was crazy. So obviously nerves and thinking, okay, cool. If I do well in this game, I could potentially get signed for Stoke Football Club. So obviously I'm there now warming up, stuff like that. And first half comes, and I've had a shocker. I just missed the first header. When you miss the first header in the first line, you just know he's going to have a shocker. It's poor. I'm like one of the taller players on the pitch as well, considering my age.
And you played centre half?
Played centre half. I'm just missing headers. Miss clearing the ball.
What would you put that down to? Just nervous?
No, I was frightened. I was like, I've never played under 18s in my life. And it was
and even just like little things, would you say that, for example, did the coach kind of help you settle prior, or was it just, do you think maybe if you had a bit more...
Just tap me on the back. He just went, you'll be all right, son. And I was like...
so it's kind of like, it's almost like that sort of like that hardline kind of get in there and just get either sink or swim. But
exactly. Yeah. He gave me a little bit of a chat.
Who was that?
It was 80 at the time. It was 80. 80 and what's his other name? I think it's Dave or something.
Dave Wright.
Dave Wright, yeah.
Brighton now.
So obviously 80 is chatting to me. He said, look, if you do well, we're looking for centre halves, looking for defenders. If you do well, you'll be signed. And I was like, kind of just like, exactly, like looking at him, but not really understanding what he's trying to say. And as I said, first half had a shocker. Really and truly, they should take me off because I've kind of nearly considered a goal, didn't. But again, I've just, one of the other players was just like, did you remember Andy Masundu?
Yes, left back.
Yeah, left back. So he's just like to me, just
relax.
Again, relax. Yeah, he's from London as well. So obviously he's been there a year prior.
Okay.
So you know that it's just relax, just settle,
yeah.
like you'll be fine. Just play your game. And then, funny enough, I was playing against you're cool with him. You used to play for Bolton. Sam, is it Sam? Not Sam.
Sammy, I do.
Sammy, yeah. So you know Sam. Sam's got a leap on him.
Yeah.
He's got a great leap on him. So I was playing against him that time, and he was winning all the headers in the first half, flicking it, just crazy, just like. And then the second half, I kind of realized that okay, cool. He's going to the side of me and then getting a run up on me. So let me kind of just like block him off or kind of use my forearm. And I thought, okay, cool, let me do that. And I won the first header and I started to get a lot more confidence. Played well, diags. Started to run out from the back. Yeah, dude, all sorts. Played really well. We lost 4-2, but yeah, it was like proper dominant, having my performance.
I think just out of interest, again, as we all coach as well, I would say, let's say you were kind of put in that situation with you were the coach now at Stoke or wherever, and you had a player. Do you think that conversation that your coach initially had with you could have been better, or do you just think you kind of have to go through it? Do you think it's kind of, you're going to get in there, you're going to be nervous regardless of what your coach says to you, whether it be really positive, really arm around your shoulder, or even if they were quite hard on you? Do you think regardless, you have to find your feet, you have to kind of play, again, get your first half out of the way,
100%.
And then you kind of just settle in that sense? Do you think,
There's a balance. I guess if I was a coach and I was a player, I'd look at the situation, I'd look, okay, cool, he's come from London, he's drove 4-5 hours to London. He's going to be nervous. He's never been in an environment. He's never played under 18s football. I would have a bit of a... Exactly. I would tell you, look, you might not have the greatest first half, so you might have to build your way into the game. But as soon as you calm off the first bits and stuff like that and get the kind of mistakes out of the way, it'll be fine. And I didn't get that conversation. But again, maybe he thought that telling me in the way that he did, again, would kind of just man me up a bit and say, look, he just said, get on with it. Come on, you need to win your headers. You need to defend. If you do the basics, you'll be fine. And I just didn't really understand that. But again, everyone has kind of different ways. Yeah. I would have thought in myself, if you talk to me in a better manner, or not necessarily in a nicer way, but football's not nice. Yeah. So again, I didn't understand that. I was like, he's just telling me, look, do here. He's got his tactics boards and I'm thinking, what the hell is he? What's going on here? Like, he's telling me defend here. Come in the first man. Block this space here.
You're just nodding.
I'm just like, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, but again, there's always different ways that come to do it.
I think even like with you, Ben, kind of when did you sign for Stoke? How did you sign
So as I said, I touched upon how I signed for Cheltenham, was only there for about 12 months. I played at the Bescott Stadium in like a local district game because I was still playing for the district while I was at Cheltenham. And Stoke was there watching. But there was a lot of clubs interested at the time, Wolves. But I actually went.
Who was watching you? Do you know? Was it
Kevin Scott? No, it weren't Kev Scott. It weren't Kev Scott. Who was the scout? It was way before Kev Scott and all them lot come in, because when they come in is when I kind of had my disagreements. But,
cool.
So when I was at when I was playing for Cheltenham anyway, Stoke come and watched. Frank Sharps, the guy's name was. Anyway, took me into Stoke, and I was the most expensive 14-year-old in the country at the time when they signed me. I literally went in for one day, one full day with them. At 12, was I 12? 12, no, just finished under 12, so I was 13 actually. But that was massive for me because the gaffer at the time at Stoke was Steve Holland, who's now England's assistant manager, went to Chelsea, etc. So, and he was the one that went, now I want that lad. So for me, that was huge. I had it was all over Sky, I had BBC, everyone was thinking this kid's going to be the next big thing. And so for me, that was...
That's not common, is it? In the sense of players, if they are signed at an academy and another academy is interested. At that young age, they don't usually...
Correct. And the thing for me, at that time, it's getting more and more common now because the bigger sides are just going to pinch the better talent.
Of course.
But back then, it wasn't really a fit. We're talking... over 10 years ago, it wasn't really a thing. Money in football wasn't as much, etc. Especially in academies. So it wasn't a thing. So it was big. And I probably didn't realise how big it was. But when I went to Stoke, we were just moving training grounds. So Clayton Woods was being built, which is obviously Joe's been there, state of the art. But when I went there, it was just being built. So everything, Michael Owen was there. Everything around the club was like booming. Stoke was in Europe. Yeah. It was class, and I got a 4 or 5 year contracts they give me when they signed me. So I was like, it took me up to 17, and I was like, class. But then Steve Holland moved to Chelsea, and they appointed a gentleman called Steve Martin, which obviously Joe will know the guys, and Kev, Scott come in, Dave Wright, and they started to just, I don't know what visions they had for Stoke, but they went absolutely, they ruined, in my opinion, obviously football's all about opinions. Joe will have a different one because they brought him in. But in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? In my opinion, they ruined
I agree with you, man.
We had a good foundation at that club.
And you were there for long, longer than
time.
me. So you kind of knew, you were growing with Stoke. Exactly. You kind of saw the changes. I got there when it was all kind of just state of the art.
But
Cat 1.
We're talking like 30, 40 players a night on each trial and that. It was like a cattle market. Yeah. Every day there'd be a new trialist, and obviously when you're a signed player, you're thinking, what's going on here? Like, so.
What was sort of like the reception you got when you did sign? Because as you said, they bought you.
Class.
And when you got in, how were the other players around you? The coaches?
Like I was like the boy. Do you know what I mean?
Like you're the next big thing in that sense. Yeah.
Arrived.
How do you think that kind of affected you?
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, my performance was class.
Yeah.
I remember we played Man U away at Carrington, and Chris Swift, I'm still friends with him now. He was a academy coach at the time, and he pulled me in and he went, me and a lad called Curtis Shields at the sign from signed from Wrexham, and they said to me and Curtis, he went, like, if I could, you two now would have like a 3-year pro each. Like we were just ripping it up. Like it was, everything was going everything was going in the right direction. And then when that stopped, when they started bringing in everyone in on trial, my head turned straight away. I was like, I'm out of here, done. And at about 15, I tried to force a move out, but they was obviously not having it.
Why was that?
Just because I was fed up. I thought my opportunities was going, like they were bringing in lads from all over the world, as I said.
Were you not starting as much? Was it like
I was still playing,
change? Oh no, there's something
I was still playing. I was still playing every week in my age group, but before I was always up, and I was with Joe, and then and then that started to change, and you just get a vibe when things aren't. They don't see. It was like, you're old news to us. Like we didn't bring you in. We want to bring our own kind of players in, and that's the vibe I got. Steve Martin called my dad in, I think at 15, and said, like, who's Ben? Obviously, you're not meant to have representation. And he was like, who's Ben's representation? We've never had as many inquiries for a 15-year-old. And I didn't honestly have one. I had someone that was like, I was talking to, but I'd not signed with anyone. And fortunately, like, I managed to agree a deal with Birmingham, but it wasn't fortunate. Obviously, you'll know why in a minute, but with Birmingham City, and that would have took me through my scholarship and into 2-year professional contract. But a gentleman called Terry Wesley, who you might have heard of, went to West Ham. He actually lost his job at Birmingham because he tried to send Nathan Redmond out on loan to Port Vale.
Terry.
So my deal fell through. But obviously, I was good friends with like Damari Gray, that's obviously at Leicester and that now, and all my friends were playing football, and I was seeing them get on. They were getting opportunities. I was thinking, this is what I want. You know, like, I'm getting no opportunities at Stoke. I need to get out of there. Kept trying to force a move, and in the end, I thought, I ain't gonna get one. Like, I ain't gonna get it. End of the day, I'm gonna have to go back. So I went back to Stoke, and sour grapes, and just literally left me out then until my contract finished.
Did
the same.
And that's literally what happened. Or ran it out up until my contract, which was literally just not long before my 17th birthday, and then I was without a club. Didn't know what to do, and then, to be fair to Stoke, they played Burton Albion in a pre-season friendly. And obviously, my name must have been mentioned somewhere along the line, and the next day Burton called me and offered me in. Again, I was like, Burton Albion, I didn't know who they were. They'd just come up to League Two from the conference. I went there and I met Paul Pescasolido and a guy called Mike Whitlow, a legend, like he's played for Bolton, an experienced guy. Played Birmingham City, actually quite funny enough, and signed there for 3 years. But I think if Stoke would have been a little bit different, this conversation would be kind of different.
Yeah,
I don't. That's my honest opinion. Like.
Yeah, so like you said, touching on that, when they transitioned from when Steve Holland left, and they brought all the new people in, was that like the start of, like you mentioned earlier, the mental side of the game?
Yeah.
Was that when you felt it started to go a little bit pear-shaped kind of thing? Because
I think you're right.
You mentioned like you tried to force a move and stuff.
At that age, what you got to remember is at that age, that's the age when you start getting involved with girls, you start getting involved with parties.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that takes your mind off football, because I wasn't happy there.
Yeah.
So then I'd be like, I remember Stoke used to pick me up. They used to drive down to Birmingham, pick me up, take me up to training and stuff. And I used to sit there on the whole way on like BlackBerry Messenger, just pinging off, messaging birds. And that was literally
just to get your mind off it.
I didn't want to go to training. Didn't want to go there. I was sat there thinking, I don't want to go. My head was just totally not in it. So that is 100% where it mentally started, because I mentally switched. My mental mind started thinking of other things rather than football. Whereas previously for them situations, I used to go there and I couldn't wait to get to training.
Yeah.
Get there and I'd be smiling, beam to beam, finish training, smiling. I'd call like my dad, training was class, but then it got to a point where I just didn't want to even, I'd have to force myself to go on the pitch and that. Yeah. So I just didn't want to be there.
I guess when you kind of even touch on that, and again, the mental aspect, you think about it, you think, okay, some will think, okay, well, that's not that bad. Again, you're playing football, but you have to look at, again, the age you were 15, and even talking about forcing moves, you're 15.
Yeah.
You're not 15 years in a pro game when you know your way around. You're 15 trying to force a move to Birmingham or wherever, and you've got, again, education, girls, partying, everything. So it's a lot for a 15-year-old to take on. And even like you said, you tried to force a move. So I guess the person that kind of helped you was the person you wasn't representing you, that was talking to you. Yeah. And even
touch upon that's obviously quickly is that person when I went to Burton, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And do you know what I'm saying? So when the going's good, everyone wants to know you. When the going's bad, there's no truer saying who's there for you when things are difficult. And that's why I've tried to get into that. We were all in that. I think that's why we can all share experiences to help the kids, because it's a lonely old world, football. Lonely and like I've said, your friends want to know you and like, class, that, blah, blah, blah. But what do they pick the phone up and say, how are you when you get released? And what that's true. Do they? Because mine didn't. Yeah. And that's they're still my friends now, and I wouldn't think any less of them. I'm just saying that it's a lonely world. So to have someone that's a role model that's been through it from us all in different aspects, it's massive, because it's lonely out there.
And I'd say, would you say you really noticed the mental part again when you kind of noticed that at Stoke it wasn't going your way, or do you think again maybe you kind of picked up on it when you got your move and you could see that, wow, I guess as you said, when the going's going good, you don't really think of them things, but when did you really notice that your mental health and your sort of that well-being was being affected?
I think it started happening when at the early days at Stoke, but I would never have thought of it like that because I wasn't old enough. I just think I didn't want to be at Stoke, and that's what I put it down to.
Like, I don't want to be here.
But it wasn't as kind of noticed and established as it is recognised. Yes, to what I'm looking for. Yeah. You just get on with things.
Correct.
You never think it's like it's part of mental health.
It's just like it's a bad day,
I'm young. I want. Yeah, exactly.
It's really. I still to this day, like throughout my time at Burton, I wouldn't have said it that, like, I know now that I was struggling, but I wouldn't have said that back then, because I wouldn't recognise it, and I wouldn't open up to that fact. It was you were playing football. But when I was at Burton, I just did not switch. Like I could not adapt. We went from Clayton Woods, state of the art, on the floor heating, walking around in your socks and that lovely massages. Like we used to go upstairs to the canteen and get whatever we want, sit and have a laugh, and it was class. Like I'm not going to lie, that was. Do you know when people say, "Oh, you're a footballer," and that's what it's perceived to be. That is that environment.
That's what you think about,
But then when I went to Burton, I got changed in a working men's club called Marston's, which is a brewery. There used to be a hole in the roof tipping down around. I walked in, I thought, you're winding me up. Like, that's what I thought. I thought, like, I ain't coming here. I thought, like, is this a Sunday League club or something? Like, what's going on? I didn't adapt, but the boys that were there, that's all they knew. They were so appreciative of playing football every day, even though it was on a brewery's pitch, and the pitch had like mud, and we were getting into ice baths like that. I've never seen anything like it. Do you know what I mean? That were full of like litter, and I'm thinking like I just could not adapt. But the boys that were there that's all they've knew, so they were so appreciative of it, and they really excelled. Whereas me, I went completely the other way. Yeah. There was a lad called Dylan that comes from Forest to Burton as well. Within like 2 weeks, he quit. Just said, "I'm quitting. Like I'm not doing this." Quit. Obviously, I did stick it out, but literally by the thread of my teeth, like literally.
Again, it's hard exactly because you've gone from here to here, and there's no in between. You haven't kind of found like a common ground. It's literally been football was this way, and now football's this way,
and that was it.
Get on with it, or again,
lost my love for it. Lost my love for it, like big time. Like I said, no one around you cares anymore. Like Burton Albion, no one knew who they were, so it was like the girls that you're talking to, it's like, oh, well, I can talk to so-and-so that's at Villa, or talk to so-and-so that's at... And like, I know, and I know that that's a sad world that we live in, but it affects people's mental health when people are showing you interest, and then all of a sudden...
popular sort of character, everyone wants to know you to, oh, now he plays for Burnley.
And you just try and live to their lifestyle. The boys at Villa was on, and Blues and whatnot, and Stoke still was on good dough, you know, very good money, and the Burton just wasn't the same money because it was a side that had just been promoted, and again, shouldn't do it for money, absolutely not. However, when you're trying to live to their lifestyle and want Gucci and want, and we've all done it. There's not one of us that sits around here that says they haven't, you know, that you look at someone else and says, oh, he's got a Louis Vuitton bag. Oh, that's nice. I want that. And that's what, as a young age, that's what we used to like. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
It's a materialistic.
You want to earn and you want to say, oh, I want to go and buy nice things.
Correct.
I think we've all probably gone through it as much as we don't have to admit. Probably in the younger age, when we do it to look good, essentially. Like, you know, and I don't even just mean that within ourselves, but we kind of, like, I said, oh, if I get this bag, you know what, this bag's quite, like, oh, you might look at it and think, do you know what I mean? So I think, and it's like, it's an ego thing, isn't it?
It's a massive ego.
You grow and you kind of learn again. I just think, even in this COVID world, you've learned so much that those things don't matter.
No, they don't.
But I think, so again, we learn from these, and as you said, kind of the mental health, and as you grow up, you start to understand the world a bit more. So
that's the biggest thing. I think you understand the world a bit more. Like George behind the screens, one of the players that's here today, like I try and say to him, like the materialistic, like I've done all of it.
Worthless.
Like I've done it, but it's worthless. Do you know what I mean? I've done it all. Like I've done it. You know, obviously my mental health was gambling, so like I've wasted more money than I could. You know, I don't sit here and say it with an ego. I sit here and say it with shame. But like I could buy a house outright with what I lost gambling, and that's what I try and give off to other people that I was only gambling to try and pay for a lifestyle that I didn't. To try and fit in with the boys that were earning it.
And I guess it's quite easy because again, you think about however you gamble. It's like, oh, well, if I've got this, you know what? All I need to do is if I put this X amount on, I'm going to double my money.
Correct.
Next thing you know, I'm now living like the top earner at Stoke City this month for this week.
And that's
what it's like, okay, so and then you know what? I'm going to do it a few more times. Yeah, I've lost, but I can make it back. Just if I get this, you know what I mean? And then before you know it, like, well, if I win, I can buy this house, I can buy this, and then I'm set. So I think, even like, how did you get into gambling? How was it?
It was literally that. It was at Burton. I didn't gamble. My family have always gambled and had a flutter, but nothing massive. So I knew about it. But when I went to Burton, it was that. It was literally to try and get things short term. So I wanted that now. I did it. I wanted it now because everyone else could afford it now. So I wanted it now. It wasn't long-term investments, and that's one thing.
And you even talked about obviously the money. Obviously at Burn, it probably wouldn't have been the greatest.
Nah,
you're thinking like, yeah, exactly. But if I could go here, maybe I can get this. Is what you mentioned. So
that's it. I've got to turn. I'm a footballer. I've got to show that I'm a footballer.
Yeah, that's the pressure that we're in. I agree.
People don't appreciate that, but I can't walk around here like I can't. Why can't you? But because there's an ego. But no, there's no other way.
Look at you as well. You're a footballer. So how are you not?
Why are you wearing top shop? Like why are you wearing top man t-shirts and then rocked up night trainers? What you turn up? You can't turn up to train.
I think that's dangerous because you look at again. You're in the football system from so long. Even for example, without playing academy football, for me, from the age of maybe when year 11, I like my designer bits. But again, if you're then playing football, you literally almost there's a level of expectation that you need to hit. You need to have this. You need to have designer t-shirts. You need to look like you're always having a great time. I think that's where the social media thing is dangerous.
But then also being at Stoke as well, you're at that club where the higher earners are there. So you're seeing them come in every day. They're
lifestyle, lifestyle, facilities.
Even just like, even if like when they're coming into training and
cars,
they got
all
the Louis Vuitton ones.
Listen, the Birds from Manchester.
100%.
It used to be like tough. So its training room is like with all the Birds from Manchester. That's what it used to be like. Yeah. We'd all be like showing each other the phone and that. Like I'm getting like you. That's what it was. Like I'm saying it as a joke, but that like and we're laughing, but that's what it was. And like we, you know, who would turn up with the next Gucci Gucci thing. I remember seeing him come in with like some sick off Gucci pouches once, and I was thinking, I'll go get one of them. But because you know, and that's what it was. But because you was at an elite club, it's okay.
It's okay.
When you go down and you're back in the dumps, like I said to again one of my players, when he gets to Scala, you know, first thing you do might be £100 a month. Put £100 away. But you know when you finish there, it's so rewarding to say I've come out of there with $2,500. Do you know that $2,500? You might be able to invest that into something. You might be able to set up your own coaching business if it doesn't work out. But
even it doesn't, because football's such a short career. You need to have, when your football career is over, you need to have something.
Correct.
That's what, again, you retire at 30. Exactly, you retire at, again, even if you make it to the late stage of your career, 35, with a push, maybe, again, if your body's good, 40. But you look at that's such young age to retire.
I'll come out the game at an almighty loss. So that's the one thing I can say. Like the game sucked me up and spat me out whole. So that's why I've, the experience I've got.
So I think that it's key, as you said, that when you're young, the short term thing for us, when you're young, you just think short term, I want money now.
Yeah.
As we probably know for now, being a bit older, is for me now, my thing is always switched on the long term. Like short term is good and well, but it means nothing essentially. As long as I can get by day to day, my aim in my head is I'm looking at long term and how can I work towards that and how can I kind of achieve my goals and targets. So I think exactly, but at a young age, you don't just know that. They don't sit you down in school in lessons and say that, well, you know what, can you set yourself some targets for this and that, and can you try not to almost live beyond your means in that sense, because it's just not the world we live in that sense. So it's like you have to grow up and almost you have to experience it to learn it, and people have good experience and bad experiences.
What did a football club, when I flip it back, and Joe would say, what did a football club what do they do for the player to
deal with that?
I was going to ask you about that.
If it was my football, I'd say you come in, until you're 18, a pro on a good way, you ain't coming in with a designer wash bag. You ain't coming in with designer trainers. You're coming in, if you're wearing an Adidas track, so you come in Adidas trainers and no wash bag. You don't need a wash bag. Yeah. Why do you need to walk around with a 900 quid wash bag at 16?
And you're right, because I didn't even know that before. I know academies used to have sort of football boots. They just wanted black football boots. So they can implement them sort of rules. Again, if as a player you want to be signed, you want to play. So if they tell you cannot wear this or cannot bring in this, then you're going to listen. I get it. It's the kind of being able to express yourself and not everyone being the same. But at the same time, I think it's just almost setting them sort of boundaries. Just so
I was about to say that as well. It's a balance. It's like, okay, cool. You need to be I've worked hard. Okay, why can't I do these things? But I go back to what you just said about like wage and stuff like that. Then I agree. I think if a club's if you're like a scholar, you're on scholar wage, you're not going to be on a lot of money anyway. So exactly. What's the value of buying a £900 bag that you're just going to walk into and people are going to look at you and think you shouldn't care what other people think. But again, exactly, there's no one to kind of say, okay, look, do this, do that, do this. I think, as you mentioned about experiences, I think you just have to go through these experiences and you learn from them, and then you kind of take what you're going to take from it.
But the ones that make it are the ones that don't do any of this. Let's 100%.
That
you get the odd few that are
support as well.
You get the odd few that are like gems, that have grown up through the years. Example, Grealish at Villa. Grown up since when we used to play at kids, like same age as me, I've played with him my whole life, and he was just a God-given talent. Never going to not make it. Never going to not, like 100%. So he, at 16, was probably on 3 bags a week, 4 bags a week. So he can do what he wants. I'm not being for it, he can. Yeah. However, any other one, like, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Like you said, it is fine.
It's always going to be a difficult topic, isn't it? But
so I think even touching on like your experience, Jogan, I know you fairly well in that sense. So I know a bit more personally, but I think even we spoke about, you had a stage at Stoke where you kind of just came in and your job, you were just told to go and do fitness in that sense, and you were just there and almost you weren't really kicking a ball. So how was that for your mental health, and why did you even get to that stage? Why were you told to come and you signed to play football? And of course fitness is a massive aspect of it, but you're coming in to kind of, again, have that balance of each. Why were you told sometimes to come in and just go and do your own things?
Similar to Ben as well, like at that young age, you kind of don't recognize it as like, I'm actually struggling. Again, I got to a point, I think my first year scholar, again, there's no blueprint. I was a good footballer at that time. I didn't know how to be a footballer. I think there's a big difference. You could be a footballer, but you need to know how to be a footballer. And that includes the stuff outside the pitch. And going through the kind of year I was there, the first year I was there, struggled. Again, physically quite good. In the gym, we'll be in the gym like 3-4 times a week. Just wanted to just make us big in units and stuff. I think that was their kind of philosophy, of course. So gym stuff really good. The running, again, they gave me a program to do prior before I came in. Did it, but again, it was just me doing it. I didn't have no friends to kind of say, look, okay, you do it this way. If you push this way, push this way. So in pre-season, struggled, got injured, came back from injury, and I was doing okay. Didn't really kind of get into the U team though setup. Always, they'd organise like under 17 games and stuff like that. And as a first year scholar, you're going to struggle anyway. You've got players that are a year above you and that's been there a year before. And they always kind of prioritise the second year scholars anyway. So first year struggled, and it got to a point because I wasn't playing as much. and I wasn't enjoying it. I don't know if it was to kind of help my mental or what they Stoke did. But yeah, every training session.
But why wasn't you enjoying it? Because you were
wasn't playing
yourself. Okay, so yeah,
wasn't playing. Like they never explained to me why I wasn't playing.
Say because there wasn't. If you're not playing, of course you're not going to be happy. But to an extent, you cannot play, but you can have a coach that's always like kind of feeding the right information.
Yeah,
and why you're not, and how you can.
Yeah,
yeah, as you said, you kind of weren't playing, and you were told to come in at times. Literally, you said just do.
Yeah, so I'll get in the morning. We'll do, we'll have some breakfast, do some activation work in the gym, and then go out to training. After training, whether it be before or after, Ben will probably know this. And he's like, he calls me first. Says, "Joe, come over. Just know what's going on. He's get on the line." And he's like, and I thought honestly, I believe it to this day. I think I will believe 100%. I don't know if it was to strengthen my mental, but I didn't think it at the time. So he'd be like, "Joe." Some training sessions, he'd be like, "Joe, Marcel, Manny, let's go on the line." Yeah, Marcel Branton. You'll know if he looks at this. Let's get on the line. Even Kareem at times. Kareem had a bit of a belly on him. Kareem was always a talented player. And if he hears this, he knows. He was totally talented, but he had a bit of weight on him. And so did I. But nothing crazy. And so, yeah, just go on the line and run. We've been running for about half an hour, 40 minutes. After everyone's gone, everyone's had their food, gone home. Like, the bus has gone home as well. There was a bus that takes us back to our digs. And I'm just like going home late, and it was just, my head was gone. It became a point, it was like every single day, and I kind of knew what was coming.
You knew that you were going in, you knew you were going to get told to be on the line, etc. And
and even kind of going back into that as well, like when you go home for the weekend to go to London, obviously you're back on the train, proper buzzing, proper happy.
Going home.
And then obviously a particular time you need to get back on a Sunday for digs, or the digs lady will snitch on you. So that was 9 o'clock. And I used to stall it. I used to get back to Stoke Monday morning. We're supposed to be in training like 9:45, maybe a bit earlier. I used to get the first train, maybe like be back at 8 o'clock, go to my digs and just say, like, sorry, I just wanted to, like, there was something going on, but I just didn't want to go back. I stalled it so much. I just wanted to stay at home, and I felt happy at home. I felt like, this is the environment I want to be in. And yeah, kind of what you said about stories about when you drive up there. With my dad, look, there'll be times where I miss a train by purpose, and there'll be no trains until like Tuesday. And my dad has to drive me. He's obviously angry. He's annoyed, and I'm buzzing in the car because I'm thinking, like, you know what? I just didn't want to go back because I just knew Chalky, one of the physios, just make me run. Him and Dave would have meetings about me. What type of running sessions? Chalky, just what type of running sessions I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think they had a joy in it. I don't really know. But again, yeah, cool. It came down to me because, again, I was unfit at one point. I completely understand that. But I would have liked a lot more kind of understanding towards why I was doing it. Why am I running? What can I do to get into the team and stuff like that? And then I spoke to my mum about it. And I remember actually being really upset. I think I probably even cried on the phone and said, "Look, Mum, I'm here to play football. I'm not playing."
Yeah.
As a mum, she just said, "Look, why don't you just go and talk to them?" I didn't feel... Yeah, exactly. Just all the confidence kind of went, like, I was part of the group, but wasn't.
Yeah.
Always like in the change room, like the banner would be flying around. And I just felt like I just don't want to get involved. And if I say something, like, the man would be like, "You're not playing anyway."
Yeah.
What's your opinion like?
Which is obviously very interesting because if you know you as in Jojo, like, that is not you. I see you in any changing room in general, and you are one of the loudest in there. Okay, it's all positive, and it's always, even like when you're having laughs and jokes, you're never like hard on anybody, and you're just a very kind of bubbly, energetic person, which is why me personally, why we got on so well. But to hear you saying you were in that and you were quite quiet because what people might say to you or you didn't feel part of it is obviously. I
just felt I was going to get judged. I felt like, I wasn't a footballer anymore, really. And then, I remember my mum just telling me, just go and talk to them. And it took me like 3 weeks to go and speak to them. Honestly, like, just urging the confidence. I knocked on my manager's door and I just said, "Look, can I speak to you?" He said, "Yeah, come in, Joe, look, And I spoke to him, I said, "Look, I want to play football and I want to know why I'm not playing." He just says, "Look, he doesn't think I'm not good enough. He just feels that, look, he needs to help. He wants to help me in a way that I can become a lot more stronger mentally." Again, I didn't really understand. Just play me. Like, what's going on with you? Like, there was centre halves and probably better than me, 100%. But definitely deserved to play in that first year, at least a couple games. And again, like going back into the change room stuff, you know, again, you get sorted up, and these are boys that some of them are from London, some of them from like different areas of up north and stuff like that. And it was a good group we had, but again, because I wasn't playing, I just didn't feel that like I had the right to say anything or had the right to get involved with the banter. And again, I really struggled. Like, I'm not necessarily losing my hair, but kind of like got to a point where I thought I was, you know, was that
Which
stressed.
was massive, exactly.
I was that stressed, and I just didn't realize. And then again, mum and dad didn't kind of really know. People around me didn't really know. And he just said, "Get on with it. That's the word. Just try, keep going. Like you're here. Like you should understand that there's so many boys that want to be in your position, but at the same time, okay, I'm in that position, but I'm still not like fulfilling my potential or doing the things that I want to do." So yeah, first year was really tough for me, and that's why I wanted to kind of leave.
Yeah.
Second year, kind of knew the blueprint of the first year and just kind of got on with it. Again, because of the reputation I kind of gained in the first year of like not playing as much and not being as fit. I remember doing a pre-season with a guy called Jamie Lawrence, and absolutely finished me, by the way, military camp. But probably one of the best things I've ever done. I lost about 7 to 8 kg. Slim. People called me Pogba at one point. Honestly, like I was agile and kind of the shape I should have been in the first year. But again, because of experience, I've learned that.
Yeah.
So came in, ripped it up, yo-yo test, bleep test, all the VO2 max and stuff like that, the pull-up stuff, and ripped up all of that. Played pre-season, done really, really well. Again, because of my reputation, they didn't play me as much. I played the first couple of games, played really well, and just got dropped. I got dropped by a first year.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, this is not even...
I think, for you to say kind of the second year's priority.
Yeah,
now you're
exactly.
in the second, you're seeing a first year scholarship play before. Yeah. Over
I remember as well, prior to being dropped, I played 3 games. I played against Everton, Blackburn, and I think it was Sunderland. Played well. We won 2 out of 3. Well, dominant, winning headers, strong in the challenge. And then I just got dropped. Who we played as? I don't even remember who we were playing as. I just got dropped and then didn't play much after that. And then I went, so again, obviously I'm in contract now at the time. So I went to Bristol City. So there was an agreement that I could go and train in Bristol City and play games. So I didn't know if it was possible at the time, but it was like a loan. It was like a loan. I didn't know it was possible. So I went there. Actually, no, originally I went to Macclesfield, Macclesfield and Conference Premier, I think. Yeah. So I went there, played 2 games with their first team. Done all right, but I think the centre half that was injured kind of came back quickly. So, and then I went to Bristol. Bristol really enjoyed it. So I played with like Bobby Reed, that plays obviously for Fulham. Joe Bryan, that plays for Fulham, left back now. Played with these guys. West, he plays for... Wesley plays in League 2 or League 1 somewhere. Good player. So played some top players. Started to enjoy my football again. And it's just different when you're kind of in an environment where you want to be.
Yeah, you're happy. Yeah.
Just electric.
It's like anything in life. It's like you give your all, you kind of,
That's why, like, adapting to a team is massive.
It is,
I was exactly the same when I went to Burton. Like I said, they was all a knit, tight knit. I was the outcast. So I went in there and I thought, first of all, the surroundings were rubbish. And then, but I just didn't get on with it. I didn't get on with them. I just didn't necessarily, what's what I'm trying to say? Like, I was the outsider. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So all the second years and first year pros, they were all mates, and I just didn't get on. Like I was like, I ain't getting. I just didn't tie with any of them.
Click,
so my first year on my contract, I used to like fake injuries and that because I just didn't want to go.
Okay.
So just didn't want to go.
You know what? Ben's right. You know, there'll be times I'm just like, I'm sick. I'm not sick.
Yeah. Just didn't want to go.
Maybe I am sick, but like I just didn't want to. Didn't want to keep going. That's true. Honestly, like
bearing in mind, I was probably like not even saying in a cocky way, but probably one of the better players. Yeah. But I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Didn't get on with anyone. Some of the players have gone on to have good careers, but like now I still speak to some of them. Some Marcus Harness players at Portsmouth, on fire at the moment.
Bless.
I still speak to him. Joe, Doyle, Charles, he's actually going to sign with me for the agency, but get on with him. But at the time, I didn't think they were friends. But like, do you know now, like I've grown up and that, I thought, you know, at the end of the day, they weren't friends, they were teammates.
Yeah.
It's different. They weren't there to be friends. Like I just had to get on with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't adapt. Obviously, when I was at Stoke, we grew up together for like 5-6 years. So everyone was effectively a friend. It was different. Do you know what I mean? But then I was younger and I had to go into a job. And they were colleagues, not friends. I didn't know how
and everyone
to.
kind of wants the same thing.
Correct.
So
I didn't know how to change that. I was thinking, like, we're not mates here. We're not going out on, like, we're not going out together now. We're not doing anything, and that didn't happen. But I didn't adapt. So I think you're right. I think if you're part of a close knit team, you're gonna have results, and that's why we notice. Like, again, I'm a Villa fan, so just looking at the Villa now, there's a great team effort there. Like the team, they're all playing for each other, and because they're playing for each other, results are coming. So it's just, you know, whereas before we had a lot of lads that were French at the Villa, for example, a lot of players from overseas. There was the changing rooms was lost, and the results were lost. So I just think if you are part of a good dressing room and you all get involved,
it helps.
It helps you and it helps the team.
For each other.
Definitely.
I think even like the last few, kind of before we wrap it up, I'd say one question and something I'm always interested in myself, or if I was to go into a club, a sort of role is, as you said, that your parents would say to you kind of, well, Joe, just keep going and push yourself, but you didn't want to. And then your mum, for example, would say, go and talk to somebody. Did you feel like, what do you feel, was there someone you could go and talk to, maybe wasn't your coach? You know, for me, I've always said, if I was to kind of go and work at a club, I'd love to be that sort of person out of the coaching, kind of the person you come to, where if you've got an issue and you know what, you can tell me in confidence, you tell me, you don't have to worry about me going to your coach. We're just there to have a conversation. You can bounce your ideas off me, your feelings and your well-being. Because again, it's important that we are all humans. It's, yes, you're kind of, you're a footballer and you're a pro, but that's a career and you have your own sort of personality. So there was no one you could talk to?
No, definitely. I think now, it's as Ben said, it's a lot more recognised. I think there's black player liaisons and stuff like that, people you can go and talk to. But at the time, definitely not. It was your parents, literally. It was your parents, and it wasn't even your mates, because again, your mates didn't know. You know, the only kind of thing they knew is like the football you play in the playground. Listen, I've seen you dribble past. Man, like, why are you not doing it? Why are you not doing it? Still, like you can go talk to them, and it's hard. So, again, I had a good friend. He's playing right now. He plays for Wickham. Uche. He was at Reading at the time. He was kind of going through a similar thing. I used to speak to him a little bit, but again, because he was going through his own problems, we didn't really want to.
It was hard.
It was hard. It was hard to kind of, okay, cool. What are you doing? What are you going through here? So it's literally just parents' advice, just saying, look, okay, maybe their life advice of just keep going, keep pushing. There'll be better days ahead. You need to go through these stuff and this and that. But again, as you mentioned, I would have loved someone
that you could just bounce out.
That would be like a designated for the that could support players. Like if anything's going wrong at home mentally or with your football,
and just talk to them.
Just speak. But
that's what that's solely what my business does now. So I work with the football clubs with their like player welfare officers, etc. Because a player don't want to talk to the club, let's put it out straight away, don't want to show weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
Parents, they don't understand. My mum and dad helped me. You know, if it weren't for my mum and dad, I probably wouldn't be here. Like, with the mess I got into outside of the game. So they've helped me, but they didn't understand. Like you've said, my brother didn't understand. But, like us around the table now, we do understand. So that's solely what my business is to do. Again, and touch upon George, he reaches out to me whenever he's got a concern. If he has a bad training session, he calls me, and that's not about being an agent.
Nice
that's just to have a mentor, do you know what I mean?
And trust you to talk to you about anything.
So that is solely what my business does, goes in and talks to the parents and then being a point of contact for the parents and the clubs to reach out if there is something that's going on mentally or with an addiction. Because there is signs you can see. Him not wanting to turn up to training. Him not, that's a sign. Him missing trains. Me never going in, calling up injured. They're massive signs. That parents at the time probably think, oh, okay, he's young.
But that's what I was going to say. You look back at it now because you've been through it and you can identify that it's a sign of the mental side of it. But at the time, people just brush it aside and think, he's young. He just can't be bothered today. Or
he's young. He's going to go through it.
He'll be all right tomorrow. He'll be fine. So he just doesn't want to go into it.
If we spot these signs earlier.
Do you know what I mean? It's just they brush it off and think of it as something small where deeper it's like a bigger picture.
And it develops as well.
Exactly. And it doesn't,
I think that's to say, if you spot it early, you can help, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's the main, you know, the main thing. And let's not get it twisted. Football's not for everyone.
Yeah.
No,
It's not for everyone. So me, it was definitely not for me. I weren't mentally strong enough. You have to be mentally
100%,
strong.
100%. I agree with that as well. As much as I was talented, and probably same for you. I agree. I didn't have that mental capacity. 100%. Yeah. And the players that are playing now have.
Yeah.
And I always looked at the players, and you mentioned this earlier, like you're probably a lot better than a lot of players around, but they're just mental capacity a lot better, and that's why they've gone to have careers.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah, exactly. They're just again talking about like the materialistic stuff and all that. If you focus on yourself, don't focus on what's around you, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll literally be fine. As you guys,
It's a hard lesson to learn at that age.
Of course,
We all do it for the wrong things.
Of course,
say to my boys now, like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it because you want to play football, or are you doing it because you want to be a footballer? There's a difference. Do you want to be a footballer in your Instagram bio, or do you want to play football?
Yeah.
Because if you want to play football, you won't worry about Instagram.
Yeah,
you don't care about what clothes you wear. You don't care about what car you drive. All you care about is football
Literally.
and training. So there's a big difference. Once we master that, and once that person masters that, then you realise I wanted the fancy life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I still do. That's why I like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like when
yeah,
I always say we was all together in Dubai. Do you know what I mean? So, but at our ages, if you want to be a footballer, unless you've made it, you can't be doing that. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Well, we're a bit different now. We're a bit older, but as a young kid, you know, like if you're 17, 18, and you go Ibiza or Marbella, I can guarantee you're not going to go on and have a successful career. Like, you might do if you're again, like I said, one of the elite players. But if you're just at that cusp and you're trying to be an elite player, you're going to get sucked into their world.
You got to sacrifice.
Fine
Someone's got to teach you to sacrifice.
Fine lines.
I'd say probably like, even the last thing that one touch on is just that, again, we probably all have it. We talk to parents about it, children about that transition from sort of grassroots football to academy football. But now looking, obviously, your experience, that transition from scholarships to like pros, why do you think it didn't work for you? Again, I know you said mental aspects heavy, but do you think it's, again, a massive gap going from even like, I know scholars, you're obviously learning on your way to your pro, but would you say there's a massive gap in between?
I think technically, like we just said about being a footballer, you would not be at that level if you're not good enough. It's like, can you be a man? Can you really go and be a man then?
So
can you
so
show
you think
me?
it's a bit less about on the pitch?
Totally.
It's more about you off the pitch, and if you're ready to kind of take that on so early.
Technically, you should be good enough at 17, 18.
If you get a scholarship, and of course, there's,
you know, so it's not about that then. It's about, you know, what can you offer to the team? Like, are you a team player then? Are you a leader on the pitch? Are you staying and doing extras?
So
are you
other sort of skills?
Yeah, the other world. Are you a man? And like I've said, can you turn from a boy to a man?
Responsible, yeah.
That's been my opinion.
Do those little things like influence the club to make a decision? Like you said, staying behind after training and stuff like that, even at that young age. Do you think it has that?
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of thing?
So,
yeah.
I think, like I said, if you're technically good enough, you wouldn't be there anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it does massively. I think, of course, it does. I think if you show willingness and desire, that will put you in a good position.
Yeah.
I think you have to also be good enough. But I think it really does put you in a good position because the manager wants that. You know, the favours the manager. If you're going to him every day, what can I do for you, Gaffer? And that he's thinking, you know,
he wants to.
Do you know what I mean? He wants to be here rather than the ones that are going in the change rooms, getting on the phones and going home.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, my opinion. Because like I said, I think technically everyone.
Once you get to that age, you
should be in that position. So, for example, I was a striker, like a bit of a physical striker. So I was never one that's going to take anyone on and dribble past them. But I could hold the ball up. I knew my job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I knew my job at that age. But then, did I have all the other attributes to go with it? No. And that was it. It wasn't enough to do on the pitch. People still now.
Yeah.
You go, you know, I'm sure you guys get it. You go out and I don't play at all really now. And people go like, you're mad. Like I go see anyone and they're like, players that like Dimmy, I seen Dimmy last summer and he was like laughing and that, like, you're mad, like you can only play at all and these are players that have won the Prem. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're saying that about me, but because I was good enough, I just didn't have I didn't have one a bit of luck and to the other attributes outside.
Yeah, I think well again, it's very insightful. Just the last thing, how did you two sort of meet at Stoke? Because again, we're sitting here now, but
yeah,
again, you said different age groups.
I think it was about 15, wasn't it? When Stoke first come.
Yeah.
And then like I was playing a year above. I think Joe's a year above me, so I was playing a year above, and we was around the training ground together every day.
So did you hang around a lot, or did you know each other's faces? So when you see each other,
not necessarily. Again, because again, as Ben mentioned, like the group itself, I'm not saying it wasn't a bad group, but we wasn't connected.
Okay.
I'd say we're very individual type thing. And I think that's what Stoke made us.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, as lads, we're great lads, honestly. Like, cool. There was banter flying around, it was jokes. But in terms of like the club itself, I think everyone kind of had, everyone kind of knew it wasn't the best place to be. But again, I'm not to disrespect Stoke or any other club. Everyone has their own experiences. And it's important that players understand about the teams that you're signing for. Don't just sign for them. Understand if there's a pathway or if there is an opportunity to go into the first team or an opportunity to kick on. It's a club for you. You know, not everyone's, again, like as you mentioned, like gems and stuff like that. Not everyone's going to make it through. Football's not for everyone, but you've got to be in an environment where they are trying to kick on players and stuff like that. But yeah, with Ben, he mentioned about the trialists as well. Like there was just so many trialists, so many people coming in every single day. You mentioned earlier it was like 40. One time there was like 40 trialists, and I'm like, and then I think there was, I don't know if you were involved in it, but we played like 11v11 against them, like round Robin Hood. Just kept playing against different trials, different players. Some played over, some played over. There was a lot of players that came and I thought he's good and he didn't sign. I didn't understand the situation. So in terms of like being connected as a group, we found it hard because I think they were always looking for something new. Always looking for like the players that we were playing with. Probably what like there was they clearly didn't think we were good enough. That's where we're looking. That's what we're looking. So,
but we did have a call so just a quick one in Dubai, and I'm coming out the toilet. Where was it? What's it called? Paradise.
Paradise.
I'm coming out Paradise, and I look and I thought, I know that geezer. I hope I had no trouble with him and that. And I went up and I said,
crazy.
Started thinking, and then obviously football come to my mind straight away, and I was like, we was at Stoke together, but there was a core of us that was like, you know, myself, Joe, obviously Pete, Kareem. It was like there's about 10 players that you could say that you remember off your top of your head, and we was that. But he was literally, I was signed, and then we had all the boys coming in, so we was training together and playing together and whatnot. And then obviously I left about probably a year or so after Joe come, to be fair.
About
a year or so after.
That's true actually.
Pastures new, and then I've like football, small world, isn't it? And then even smaller when you're in Dubai.
Yeah, exactly.
See him walking out the toilet.
One more before we go. Completely different now. Best player you played with and against? Both of you.
Against
I think
Pogba.
I did.
Pogba, I was a second year scholar. We played against. I was playing up with the 23s actually. Again, wasn't really playing as much, but the 23s manager liked me, so he just said, come on,
Going Mark Pogba.
Yeah, literally.
Cheers for that one. Yeah.
Crazy. So again, didn't start the game, but came on, and he's playing 23 or 21s at the time, I think, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Just a talented footballer. Mental. He's just above the game. He's two steps above. Like, he scored. We lost 4-1. Scored some outrageous volley. The ball's flicked up, and he's got no right to volley. No right. And he just banged it. He just flared with it, and you can just see like he was a footballer.
It was easy for him.
Yeah, it was like 100%. And you say played with.
Only at Stoke or in general?
Like in general, just
okay. So it doesn't have to be at Stoke.
It don't have to be at Stoke.
Played with. Oh, you have to get back to me on that.
Yeah,
Ben, go through that. I think there's a couple. I don't want to disrespect a couple people.
I got two that I think I'm going to go with Grealish. I think I have to. Rashford as well. Played against Rashford a few times, but when I was playing against Jack, he was just head and shoulders above, and I still believe he's one of the. And I'm biased, but I think he's one of the best players in the Prem by a country.
No, he's proven. On his day.
Take Kevin De Bruyne
on his days.
I think he's up there. So Jack, I think I'll go with Jack for sure. Had my 18th birthday with him in Bamboo in Birmingham as well. Mad.
Oh, Bamboo.
Yeah. That was mad. And then the other one, what was the other one? Who have I played? Best one I played with?
Yeah.
It's a very good question.
It's tough for you to play with a lot of players.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Ain't gonna be one. You could name like a couple.
I think.
maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Yeah, when I was at Chelsea. Yeah, but obviously that was a young age. He's a year below me. He played up. Again, it's just very natural for him. Physical dominance, just, you know, he'll glide through pitches, just as he's doing now, really. But yeah, Ruben, think about that. Ruben was top.
Mine, I think I'll probably say the one that I've played with consistently. So, as I say, I've played with Damari Gray, very good player. Played with Reece Brown as at Peterborough, proper baller. Played with quite a lot of good players, but I think the one I played with consistently, Marcus, because he's come through the rank. Marcus Harness is at Portsmouth, and I played with him week in, week out when I was at Burton, and I think he's going to go on to play a Championship Prem. He's still young, got opportunities, so I'll probably say him. Portsmouth. I probably really, really feel harsh, and there's probably a few that are going to say, "Come on, like," because like Dimmy's won the Prem, and that. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about consistently played with, like, as one of my teammates when I was at Blues. I wasn't signed, so, and that's when I was with Damari. So, you had Redmond as well there. You know, there's some class players, but that I played with every day, probably Marcus.
Nice, lovely.
Well, again, it's been a pleasure. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having us, man.
Anytime.
Appreciate it, boys.
Again, it's so insightful, not just for us, but I'm sure for everybody else as well.
Definitely.
So I'm sure we'll go again soon.
Yeah.
But yeah,
appreciate it.
that.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Take care.